What was the dumbest rule your school enforced? In my freshman year of high school, we had a terrible vandalism problem. The bathrooms would be broken in various ways almost constantly. In a stroke of pure genius, the staff decided that any bathroom that was vandalized would be closed for the week on first offense, the quarter for second, and permanently on the third offense. They took back the rule after closing every bathroom on day one. Holy crap, recently at my high school someone stole a effing urinal. I have no clue how someone manages to do that. That takes some Ocean's 11 level planning right there. No jackets. They think we may hide things like phones or bombs there. No backpacks to class, but purses were allowed. Girls started carrying around purses big enough to be considered a backpack. Guys got pissed, started carrying purses too. I'd wear my backpack on my front and call it a front pack. Took all the doors off the men's room bathroom stalls because of vandalism for 2 months. Same at my school, but for all 4 years. We had no TP or mirrors either. No TP? What did you use then? If I had to poo, I'd walk home. Legit, if that happened at my high school, I'd just leave school midday. If you got to go, you got to go. Don't tell me I got to wait effing 3 more hours until I can empty my bowels, or I'll empty them on top of a desk in the middle of class. This guy craps. You means this guy, web link. Effectively turned every public bathroom into a private bathroom, I guess. Either a private bathroom or a very public bathroom, depending on how desperate other people are. Prom was a mandatory lockdown for the night in order to avoid students going to parties after prom. Prom was held at various house parties across town instead. I hate it when schools shove their noses into everyone else's business. All the kids, 6th or 7th grade, started putting pink laces in their shoes, don't know why, but the school officials banned colored laces, saying, pink is a gang color. It's Brittany, bitch shanks another student. You couldn't wear any kind of head items that were gang colors, red or blue. This included hairbands, scrunchies, beads in your hair, ribbons, anything. I got in trouble for wearing a blue hairband with white polka dots. Don't joke about the Polka Dot Cartel. What a great band name. You got in trouble if you wore just a Hanes white t-shirt after school because you were in your underwear. Might as well just wear your literal underwear to make a statement. Or just strip entirely. My high school mascot was Daniel Boone holding a musket. A kid wore a Guns N' Roses shirt to school and was told he had to change shirts because of the pistols on the shirt. He pointed out the hypocrisy of the school mascot and they changed everything. The mascot was switched to holding a flagpole instead. Every instance of the mascot was changed from the multiple signs outside and around the school to the giant picture in the middle of our basketball stadium. Holden, you're a effing legend for this. Hey, at least this shows a consistent internal logic, and lack of hypocrisy on the part of school admin, although definitely a lack of self-awareness too. I mean, at least they fixed their hypocrisy when it was pointed out to them. In 6th grade, they switched out all student chairs for large rubber stability balls. There was a strict no bouncing rule. It was a disaster. Edit, this was in Arizona in the late 90s for those asking. The idea was to promote better posture. This wouldn't work with any age group, let alone 6th graders. Actually, we have those in one classroom in high school, only because the teacher who has classes there is a bit nuts. At first, everyone was bouncing on them, but we got bored of it after some time. These bouncy balls are supposedly good for your back and I love them, but it would be an absolute nightmare in primary school. How does anyone that works with children think that was a good idea? Hell, I don't think that would work with adults. No playing on the mini golf course. Due to the school having mineral rights on oil land in the mid-70s, our school system had huge amounts of money. One thing they did was get 9 concrete animals on the playground for miniature golf. These looked like a lot of fun to play on for kids, and they were concrete so they were indestructible. They took up 1/3 of the absolute center of the playground. We could not touch them, play on them or get anywhere near them. In P we broke out the putters once in all of grade school. A few years later they had the high school seniors take them out with sledgehammers. We had to wear belts. Someone snitched that people weren't wearing belts under their sweaters, and they actually checked and a bunch of people got detentions. Stupid. We had belt raids at my school where the dean would burst into classes, completely interrupting any education, to check that everyone was wearing a belt. We got to understand him though. How could you possibly learn anything without a belt on to retain the information? The $200 blazer was compulsory and we got detention every single day until we got it. Shoes are to be worn as the manufacturer intended. I have no clue who was wearing their shoes incorrectly, or how, but this line, verbatim, was repeated to us over the morning announcements when there were perceived infractions at various points throughout the year. Maybe people were drawing on their shoes. If you were involved in a fight, you got suspended. While it sounds reasonable, context didn't matter. I got suspended once not for throwing a single punch, kick, whatever. I got suspended because someone knocked the books out of my hand and when I reached down to grab them, they punched me in the face. I got suspended for walking down the hallway and unprovoked getting punched in the face. F. Brandon Valley Middle School. My buddy got suspended for something similar. His Marine Corps MP mother told him in no uncertain terms that if anyone tried that crap again, earn that suspension. Epping surprise surprise, the dude tried that again and he went ham on that kid. Busted nose, torn ear, black and blue for weeks. The fallout was exactly the same as not fighting back at all except my buddy got a pat on the back from his mom and a new video game. Tell you what, no one tried that with him again. If it wasn't zero tolerance then it wouldn't be a problem. Someone gives you some physical trouble and they get punished, easy peasy. They've got cameras everywhere, surely it would be pretty easy to see. Isn't it ironic that zero tolerance policies actually encourage violence? Zero tolerance isn't about stopping violence. It's about preventing administration from having to make a decision. We were all given these ugly planners at the beginning of the school year, with a few pages at the back filled with hall passes. If you didn't have your planner, or if all your boxes were filled, you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom. And no, you couldn't buy a new planner. Or borrow one from your friend. The only excuse you had was if you had a doctor's note, but no doctor is going to give a note for an upset stomach caused by the school lunch. Oh wow, I totally forgot about this until you said this. We had those too. Some teachers gave extra credit to kids who never used any of their hall passes. I went to a school that had block scheduling, so our classes were 2 hours long, pretty messed up that we were incentivized to never use the bathroom, now that I think back on that. God, my middle school did too. You had a page of hall passes and I think you had like 6 for a quarter. You could use them to go to your bathroom or your locker if you forgot your homework or something. If you didn't use them, you got extra credit. I think I used one once the whole time I was in middle school because I had forgotten my homework in my locker. I later developed Crohn's disease around age 17 and I am terrified to think what that would have been like in middle school pre-diagnosis and thus pre-doctor's note. I know people with Crohn's and it has the potential to dictate your life depending on the severity. I hope you're doing all right. I was prescribed metformin when I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, as an adult, and I don't know how I would have made it in high school with limited bathroom passes. Working remotely due to COVID has made me realize how much less stressful it is to know I have reliable access to a bathroom when I need. Can't wear too many matching shirts because you could be a gang. This was in regards to a kid with cancer wanting to make a bunch of shirts. My high school was in Butte F, Nebraska. American schools seem to be obsessed with the idea of gangs. They really are. My public school in the 90s tried to make us wear private school-style uniforms. Avoiding gang colors was big argument for this. This was an affluent school in the suburbs. Schools will latch onto any perceived potential transgression to enforce authoritarian rules, which is how you end up with teen girls carrying ibuprofen for period cramps being treated like heroin traffickers. If Billy wears blue and sees Tommy wearing red, we could have a goddamn turf war on our hands. We couldn't wear winter clothing, jackets, hats, gloves, in class because they were gang symbols. This was a small farm town in Wisconsin. Besides obviously having no gangs, it was effing cold, even indoors, in the winter. But clearly wearing warm clothing is something only gangs do. Also small town Wisconsin, we weren't able to wear jackets or anything like that in class either for literally the same reason. One kid came into class wearing snow boots and the teacher told him to put them back in his locker. So he came back with his farm boots that smelled like straight manure. You knew where he was for the rest of the day. Why was this such a Wisconsin thing? I still remember in middle school, when we laughed about how there were no gangs in school, the teachers said in high school there will be a lot of gangs. I believed them and was legit scared. Northern Illinois thing as well. You can blame the fear of Chicago. We have more corn in our city than people, but those Bloods and Crips were obviously coming to my middle school. Even now 30 years later, my eyes simply cannot roll hard enough. Mitten Clan ain't nothing to F with. Glove Gang. Balaclava Boys. Scarf Squad. Coat Cult. A girl and a boy couldn't sit together. The school employed disciplinarians to roam around the school and monitor this activity. If found, you will get a reprimand. If found repeating the offense, you get sent to the principal office, and if continuing, then eventually escalated to the parents, etc. Lol, my parents would have just laughed if my school called to tell them I sat next to a girl. That was the ridiculousness of the whole thing. The parents didn't give a hoot, except for a handful who thought it was a great idea. But kids hung out after school hours, outside and on weekends. They dated whomever they wanted and pretended they were in a forbidden relationship while at school. It was like trying to catch water through a sieve. They decided everything bad happened in the last 5 minutes of lunch, so it got 5 minutes shorter each year. Any group more than 5 had to be up to no good, so no groups over 5. Edit. This was not some big city, public school for troubled kids. It was a tiny Catholic school in a tiny farming town. The worst offense, by a student, of the whole time I was there was some kid walking across the street to get a soda from a store. Oh us. This is just 2 groups of 3. School, ban them. It's clearly a gang war now. Our school banned hugging because it was erotic. As you can imagine, the boys at school started giving each other very sensual high fives for the rest of the year. I picture them moaning loudly while their hands were slowly gliding against the other for several seconds. Talk about homosexuality. There's no group that takes homoeroticism more seriously than late middle/high school boys do. Yes, there is. The military. What's gay to civilians, the military considers brotherhood. What's gay in the military, the Navy considers brotherhood. What's gay in the Navy is just illegal. Where else could you have 3 dudes sitting in one chair, stacked on top of each other, and nobody else bats an eye? Navy, I was on bottom. So sailor. I hear you make a good bottom. Yeah, power bottom. Involved in a fight, same punishment regardless of fault, and this led to more dangerous fights due to everyone just going for it. Saw people use chairs, cricket bats and anything just to hand. Getting expelled from the school was really hard as it was the last chance school in the area, and after that, it was the special reform school. My high school banned t-shirts that had the cover of Rush's album Signals, an album popular at the time, which features an image of a dog sniffing a fire hydrant. They considered it scatological because the dog was about to pee on it. This struck the entire student body as extremely stupid, and roughly half of the student body picked a day to wear the t-shirt. We won. Imagine how terrible it would be if kids found out that dogs pee. We can't use black pens, like why? In grade 8, we were banned from standing in circles at recess because of potential scandalous activity going on in the middle. We stood in squares instead. For a while in my school, groups of kids would stand in circles shouting fight. 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 Until a teacher came to break up the non-existent fight. God, we were buttholes. I wish my students would do imaginative and actually kind of funny stuff like this, rather than the incomprehensibly childish and boring regular kid stuff that's as tedious to solve, as it's embarrassing to all involved. Edit. If one of you guys is responsible for the fake fire alarm today, that's not what I meant. My favorite prank was when we held my friend's boots out of the third-floor window. We were all yelling and crying when the teacher came in because it looked like she was attached to them. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Blackmore. My friend told me whenever they would get a sub-teacher in, the whole class would turn their desks around and face the back. But they played it off so well the sub didn't know if it was a prank, or just the genuine layout of the classroom. Even though the board was clearly behind them. Be there and be square. Look at this guy, coming at the problem from a different angle. They banned wristwatches. No one knows what the reason was. That's when you go full Flavor Flav and wear a timepiece around your neck instead. Suspension as a punishment for skipping school. Don't want to come to school? Well now, you can't, until next week. Edit. And no tank tops in a desert climate. Because shoulders are too sexy for school. Grade 12, I got suspended 3 days out of school for skipping school. Parents didn't even have to call in for me. It was great. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.